I've taken this book, Turn the Ship Around, which does indeed have a few key nuggets, and translated them into a one-page summary here. If you want to have an empowered team that takes ownership for their actions, makes good decisions, and follows through with urgency, the key is to make them feel that each decision is their own. And the way to make people feel that is to actually make it true. Shift decision-making from the CEO down to each department head, and from the department head, they can do it down to each team member. But of course, that's a little scary because now they're making the decision and you don't have control, but what if it's a bad decision? So a way to get your cake and eat it too is to say, you're the decision maker, department head. You tell me what you intend to do before you do it. Give me a chance to give you feedback. In fact, let other people know what you intend to do. Give them a chance to give you feedback, and then you go ahead. The nice thing is it makes each department head think like an owner, but it also gives others a chance to give feedback so the department head doesn't go and do something reckless that breaks the entire rest of the organization without the department head realizing it. Another nice benefit, however, is if people don't get back to the department head with their feedback on the intended action, the department head goes ahead anyway. So there's no bottleneck. There's no slowing down.
They said, I intend to. They said, they stopped bringing me problems without solutions. They stopped saying, I recommend. They stopped saying, I would like to. They stopped saying, I'm thinking about doing this. They said, I intend to. I intend to load a torpedo. I intend to submerge a ship. And I would say very well. And it shifted the ownership to them. It was very, very powerful. It's cascaded down through the ranks.
Now, all these seem like very simple things, but the effect has been remarkable. I'm using them. Admittedly, it's a small team we have here at Mochary Method. We're only 10 people, so that doesn't compare to an organization of hundreds or even thousands. But even in our organization, just by adopting this one very simple technique and asking people to tell me, I intend to. And so whenever someone comes to me and says, Matt, is it okay if I blank? I say, no. Tell me what you intend to do. And they do say, I intend to do blank. And I'll ask questions or get feedback, and then they go ahead. And now everybody in the organization is saying, I intend to, and the results have been dramatic. People feel, first of all, they act fast. The decisions are excellent. People are bought into their own actions because they're creating them. So the results have been outrageously good. Here's the real benefit. Everyone seems to be really motivated now because they're not doing the things I'm telling them to do. They're doing the things that they think up on their own, and therefore they are the owner of their area, truly the owner. They're not just an order taker. The results of how the author got to that conclusion are pretty interesting.
I went to the Naval Academy, and after 17 years, my dream was to become the captain of a submarine. And after 17 years, I was selected to be the captain of this ship, the USS Olympia. Even though I'd come up through the ranks of the submarine force, the Navy took me out of my job and for 12 months sent me to school to learn only about this ship. I could draw all the wiring diagrams. I could draw all the piping systems. I could draw the internals of the pumps. I read the dossiers about all the people, and I'd read how the ship had responded to problems. I was literally the smartest person on the planet when it came to that ship. Why? Because as the captain, I was going to give all the orders. We call it know-all, tell-all leadership. The captain or the CEO knows all the answers, and they're going to give all the orders.
Marquet was a very promising officer, has done really well in all his performance reviews. And there was one sub in the Naval Fleet that was just terrible, performing horribly. And so Navy High Command said to Marquet, we want to make you a sub commander, but not the sub you're currently on. We want you to go to this other sub that's doing terribly and try to turn it around.
Santa Fe was a submarine that we laughed at, we giggled at, we snickered at during that 12 months of schooling. They couldn't get underway on time. They had the lowest retention in the fleet. Only 3 sailors out of 35 re-enlisted. The captain was supposed to be there for another year, and we sort of snickered and said, oh, those poor bastards on Santa Fe. He quit abruptly, and the Navy said, well, we can't have a submarine without a captain, so Marquet, you're going to Santa Fe. Now I was the poor bastard. And I only had 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I thought my life was over. It wasn't the poor morale, and it wasn't the poor performance. The issue was the Santa Fe was a different kind of submarine than the Olympia. And all that studying I'd done was basically irrelevant. How could I be a know-all, tell-all leader? That was scary.
Out of pure necessity, when the department heads came to him and said, hey, what should we do on blank? he said, I don't know. You tell me what you intend to do, and I'll give you feedback. But basically his feedback was, how is this going to affect the other departments? The department heads would present to him saying, I intend to do this, and this is how it affects each other department, which is of course how a commander thinks. And therefore, not only did the sub itself start to improve dramatically better, and within a few years it was the best performing sub in the fleet, but also after a few years it went from having the lowest percentage of promotions to captain to the highest percentage of promotions to captain, because of course all the officers were now thinking like captains. They were thinking about how each action affected the entire sub, and with that mentality they were basically training themselves proactively to be captains. That's it. That's the book. I highly recommend that you experiment with having your team members say, I intend to, and collect feedback only for 24 to 48 hours before they go ahead and act. It'll eliminate bottlenecks. It'll make them think like owners, become better decision makers, more bought in, and it'll also take the stress off of you as CEO of having to come up with answers of things that you're not really fully involved with, where of course your department heads are living their department 7 days a week and you're not.
What we really had done is we had created leaders. We created more leaders on that submarine than any other submarine by a factor of 3.5. And so as officer after officer after officer was selected to promote to command his own ship for the next 10 years. And that to me is what it was about. It wasn't success, it was significance.